Hey, 2CarGuys fans, welcome back to another F1 special with John and Adam. How you doing, John?
Oh man, if I was any better, I'd be in trouble. How are y'all doing today, man?
All right, so
you
tell
know,
tell everybody, first of all, did you stay up for the whole race?
no, I wanted to. So I stayed up until the race. The race starts,
That
first
doesn't
lap,
count.
took me a nap. And then, I mean, dude, it was at like midnight our time. What was that? 1 your time.
Yeah, it was one my time. Yep.
And like,
Yeah,
golly, dude,
12:55.
like I was already kind of smoked from the day. And it was like, dude, I'm not going to make it through this race. And I didn't. And my
I'm
wife
not gonna
watched the whole
lie.
thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. When that red flag came out, I was like, I wonder how long this is gonna be. I
Yeah,
wonder if
when
I
I
could
saw the
take a
red
nap.
flag, I was like, "All right, taking a nap," and that
Yeah,
was pretty much it. I watched the restart, and then I was, I
yeah.
was done for the rest of the race. Really, I got
But
to watch the highlights,
I'll tell you, man, the lead up to the race was crazy, right? Because, well, first of
dude.
all, for anybody who doesn't know, who hasn't seen the race yet, it was held in
Yeah,
Japan, and it was held at a different time this year than it had been in previous years, right? So
right.
a lot of new things went into it, like tire degradation and the temperature of the track and the temperature for the drivers and all that stuff. There was a little
Yeah,
threat of rain, which thank God we didn't get any rain during the actual race. But I mean, before we get into all the F1 stuff, right? Before we get into the races and the practices and everything else, I let me just say, first of all, the scenery with the cherry blossoms and everything was awesome.
oh,
I
dude,
loved it.
yeah, dude, that looked
Super
like a
cool.
track to go check out, man.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
just top notch. You could just tell it was done well.
Yeah.
But
Bucket list for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely, yeah.
But
But
then
the
the other
time
thing
change,
is, oh, the time change, right? But then
right?
then the other thing is I mean, how cool are the Japanese fans? Some of the
Yeah,
coolest fan base I've ever seen. I saw a
dude.
guy with a hat that had like the wing on it with DRS and everything. Did you see that?
Dude, did you see the guy that had a hat on that was like Red Bull jacket?
Yeah.
He pulls the hat off and it's like instantly Aston
And he's
Martin
like
jacket.
Alonzo.
I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, these are our people.
Dude,
These are
it
our
was so
people.
cool. No, that was awesome.
It was
And
wild, man.
and you know what was crazy about it was like you look in the crowd and they're wearing helmets. They've got
Yeah,
hats that have like an entire full car on it. It was
absolutely.
crazy. It
Dude,
they've
it
got to be
was
some of the best F1 fans
yeah,
ever. It's
yeah.
so cool.
Definitely, definitely. I can only imagine hanging out like at that track, and
Yeah.
I always say cars unite people. I can only imagine how it pulls people together at an F1 race that are like, dude, that's freaking wild, man.
Yeah.
Like, ah, dude, I
Yeah.
bet it's a great time.
Dude, it was awesome. And I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw there was a clip somebody that was like above the garages and he had clipped a Sharpie onto a hat and had a rope, had like a string,
I
and
didn't see
lowered
it.
it down so Sergio could sign it. And so
Nice.
Sergio signed it and put the Sharpie back on it and sent it back up. It was pretty
Dude, think
cool.
about it. They're probably planning for that type of stuff like a year out. They're like,
Oh yeah.
this year we're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
have the F1 hat, and then next year
Yeah.
dude. I almost got him to sign it last year. This year, rolling it out, baby. He's gonna sign
Yeah.
it this time. Like I can only imagine, man, how
And I
cool
don't know if you
that
caught it,
really
but
is.
I saw a little clip of the hat that Max was wearing. It was written in Japanese and you couldn't tell what it
Yeah, it was
was.
like a
And
white hat, and
yep,
it was different than his normal stuff.
but some guy was there were I saw like a reel and it said, what does Max's hat say? And he took his phone and like ran his phone over the hat and it says Red Bull. And it
Oh,
was really cool because it had like
that's cool.
like a translate app on there. It was super
Nice.
cool.
That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean,
there was a
it was
lot happened this weekend there.
for sure, dude. It was crazy,
Absolutely.
but the lead up to it, just with the atmosphere and the fan base and everything, was super cool. But I mean, let's get right into it. So the first practice, right?
Yep.
They sent out the Honda reserve driver, right?
Yep.
So he could do some laps in the car. And he's a Japanese driver. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool, right?
Yeah.
But then, so what was really crazy, right, was you're in qualifying, right? And I
Oh man.
mean, my heart goes out to the people at Williams, man,
Dude.
because you know that they don't have the same type of budget that Red Bull and Mercedes and Aston Martin have,
I saw
right?
something else. Else was that this is like the logistically worst two tracks to have wrecks at.
Yep.
that are like full offs where they need a chassis rebuild.
Yeah.
And they have a horrible off at the last race. They come into this one. Ugh, I feel so
So
bad
so
for
let's
Logan
talk about
Sargent
that real
too,
quick, right?
man.
So last race, Albon wrecks the car. They
Yeah.
sit down with the team and they say, "Look, Albon's our best chance to get points. You know, Sargent, you're going to sit out. We're
Yep.
going to let Albon run the race, right?" And he ran the race. And then that's Albon's car that had to be repaired because they don't have a spare chassis, right?
That's correct.
And so Albon's car got replaced. They gave Albon's car to Sargent for the
Correct.
Japanese race
With an upgraded wing.
with an upgraded wing,
With an upgraded
right?
wing.
And it was clear off the jump that he wasn't comfortable in the car. Did you notice that?
So everything looked pretty good. I thought. I mean, he was doing decent lap times and stuff. Like he was,
He was, but it looked like he
for
was kind of
Williams.
settling in a little, like a little rough. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, driver error.
Yes.
We can both
Yeah,
agree.
no, it
Driver
was. It
error.
was. It was a driver error.
And he has another off. That's. I mean, dude. Did you see the wreck?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude, that car when it was skidding through the air, I was like, oh, here we go. That's a full write off. And then they were like, no, we're gonna get it back together for the race. I'm like, okay.
They did though.
They did it, man.
You
They
know?
did it.
I mean,
And
but my hat goes off to the folks over at Williams. They are working
Yeah.
overtime in 2024.
absolutely, man.
I mean,
you can see it on
unreal.
the mechanic's face. Each wreck, they're just like gutted.
When
know what I
they
mean?
when they
Like,
pan to the pit when he
Yeah.
went off the track and everybody in the pit was like,
dude. But at the same time, man, and he's feeling it. He's
"Oh,
got
he's
the
definitely feeling
pressure.
it."
He's
I think
got
he's
the
the
heat
only
on
one
him.
without like he was the only one that didn't have a contract at the end of last year, right?
Well, even then, you know, it's just not great, man. I mean, it's a bad
No.
position to be in. The
No. Yeah.
car is actually decent. It could be a
Yeah?
decent car. It's not the worst car on the grid, which is surprising for a Williams. Think about Claire Williams' time frame, I mean, things have changed in
Yeah.
a positive way.
Yeah.
And, they got the Excel spreadsheet under control finally.
I mean, they do, right? They at least brought all the parts to the race, which is important.
But, well, all but one extra chassis that they kind of need, you know. I don't
Details.
know, man. Small detail, just a small
Details.
detail. But they were able to bring 2 cars to the starting grid, right?
Right.
So we're thinking, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens first lap.
Well, but look, everybody got away well, which is not common for the Japanese circuit for
Yeah.
Suzuka, right? Everybody got away well, and I was kind of like, oh, we're gonna have a clean race.
Yeah.
And then Albon goes up the right. You can see Danny kind of turn his helmet to the left because he was looking to see where Stroll was at,
Yeah.
and just did
But
one
he's
just
on
did
the
one of
racing
these.
line. But he's
Yeah.
on the racing line.
He was on the racing line. It's a
He's on the
racing
racing
incident.
line.
It's not I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. It's a racing incident. But for somebody who didn't need a racing incident right now,
That's him. Yeah.
that's him all day.
All day. Yeah. Danny Rick, man, we feel for you, dude. Goodness.
Oh my God.
Goodness.
And you and I have
that's
said
tough,
it before, man. I
tough.
like Danny Rick. I
Yeah.
want him to do well. I really do.
Yeah.
But he's in a tough spot because you've
I mean,
got
Tsunoda was on point this race.
You've got Tsunoda doing well, out qualifying Danny, outperforming Danny. The only
the
points
point.
they have for the year are from Tsunoda,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then you've got Liam Lawson waiting in the wings. He looked really good.
Yeah. And it's like all things are stacked against Danny Rick.
Yeah.
But he puts one race together. You know what I mean? Like, let's say he goes to Monaco like he normally does, and is that car at Monaco where he normally is.
Yep.
And pulls that off, and it's like we forget about all this.
Okay, so this is a great question for you. Do you feel, because I know I do you feel like that Danny Rick can go to Monaco or go to, Monza or whatever, right? Where he won at Monza before, right? He can go to one of these tracks and win, and everybody's like, he's destined for the Red Bull seat, right?
If he's
Meanwhile,
in the car.
Tsunoda could outperform him the rest of the season. I don't feel like anybody's talking about Tsunoda in the same way we're talking about Danny.
Well, you look back 2 years ago, though, and Tsunoda was like, why are we giving this dude, why has he got to drive?
Right.
You know what I mean? 2
Yeah.
years ago, we wouldn't even be questioning Danny Rick. We'd be questioning Sonoda. And Daniel Rick at the same time wasn't driving well.
Right.
So here we are, fast forward 2 years, and it's like Danny Rick's got his second chance. You know, this is his chance to get back in a Red Bull seat in a car that he's comfortable in and competes in.
Right.
And we're looking at, oh, well, you know, Sonoda's outdoing him every race.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I don't know,
And I
man.
mean, we're going to jump forward
I
in
don't know.
time a little bit,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm not much of a Sonoda fan, and I think it's because when he first came on the scene, he was a hothead.
Oh, yeah.
And like 99% of his, radio calls were not fit for TV, right?
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like he was very volatile is a great way to put
Yeah.
it. But I was so happy that he scored points at his home Grand Prix
Yeah.
in front of his home crowd. Man, that was
So
cool. That was
So
cool.
this is fast forwarding to like the end of the race, but you saw the two Red Bulls bring him around
Yeah.
afterwards after scoring his points. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty
That
good.
was pretty
Like
cool.
nod, hat nod. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool
yeah.
for sure. So getting back to start, right? So we start immediate red flag,
Yeah.
right? They go back to the same grid order.
Yeah.
Everybody's waiting in the wings, trying to figure out what's going on. And, meanwhile, John's falling asleep.
I'm on nap number 2 at this point. I did watch the highlights.
So a few teams changed tires in the pits, right?
During the red flag.
During the red flag.
Yeah.
And this race was all about tire strategy. 110%, right?
You could see it.
110%, right? So you had some people go on the hards, like Mercedes, right? You had most people go on the mediums. A couple people stayed on, a couple people had the softs or what have you. But it was very interesting, like to see the thought process and the tire strategy, right?
Yeah.
So the race restarts, and you get, Max and Sergio and the same crowd up at the front, right? You got McLaren, and Mercedes and Ferrari and Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
And at some point, Max just checks out, right? And so we do what we've done for most of last year, which is watch 2 through the rest, 2 through 20, right? And there was some interesting stuff going on. Can you believe how long Leclerc was out on a set of tires?
So I didn't see how many laps he was on the set, but did you see how much passing was in this race?
A lot,
dude. There was so much passing. Like I was like, wow, like that was good. I mean,
there was a lot of passing.
There
was a lot of passing. There was most of it was just regular, like it was good passing. Most of it was when they got into DRS.
Yeah.
There were a couple, like when Sergio when Sergio went around run around Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's late breaking the crap out of that turn. Like he needs
spots.
Yeah, that was a wild spot, but he got it, you know. But speaking of Hamilton, oh man, he must have seen every car on the track. Everybody overtook him. He's on the radio talking about why is our car so slow,
Yeah.
But it's because they wanted to do the one stop with the hards.
Yeah.
And that clearly was not the game plan. And they needed to do a 2-stop.
And I think that was a lot of the problem with the Danny Rick situation where he was sliding all over the place before that wreck.
Yeah.
He was on mediums.
Yeah.
And everybody was just passing him in the softs. Like the softs were just the tire to go to at the beginning of the race. And I think a lot of people saw that when they were like, oh, well, it's red flag. Let's switch this up.
Yeah. But I mean, Leclerc was on mediums and he ran, a significant amount more laps than the people around him. We'll have to look it up. But but I mean, he ran a significant amount more laps than the people around him.
But his strategy did not work out for him.
It did not. No.
Yeah. In the long run.
But you look at Sainz. I mean, Sainz was hard charging on the way back up there, you know? And credit to Sainz. He's the only driver on the grid that in 4 races has been on the podium 3 of the 4 he's attended.
Yep. Exactly. And I think Behrman, the one time that he was out, might have gotten on the podium had he had a little bit more time, like a couple more laps. He was working his way up at the end of that race.
He just showed up that day. He was supposed to be somewhere else that morning, right?
Right.
So I give
Absolutely,
him.
man.
Didn't he finish in like fifth? I gotta give him
Like I
credit. He
said,
finished
man, appendix out. We're going racing.
100%. Yeah, we're doing that at the end of the year. For everybody who's watching,
Absolutely.
we're gonna do appendix out racing. It's gonna be awesome.
Do you still have your appendix? Sorry, you're not invited to this race. Sorry. Come back next time.
No, I want to make. What are you talking about? I want to make sure all our competition still has their appendix. So they're
Oh, yeah.
slower than
No,
us.
you have your appendix. Come
Right.
on.
Right.
You're on.
No, it's unreal. I saw a meme yesterday that was talking about the last time that because for those of you who are watching and listening, the next race is China, and there was a meme that was talking about the last time that F1 was in China, both Albon and Sainz had their appendix.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And I was
That's
like,
pretty
okay.
good. That's pretty good. What a stat.
Yeah, it's a great stat.
Like,
Great
it's
stat.
crazy, man.
So, I mean, there was a lot of passing, which made the race fun to watch. It definitely wasn't
Absolutely.
as much fun as I felt like Australia was a really good race to watch.
That was
I
a
enjoyed
great
that
race.
one.
Yeah.
But okay. At the end of the race, last lap or whatever, Russell's charging through the field.
Yes.
And he's coming up on Alonso.
Yeah.
How badly were you like, oh crap, it's about to happen again?
It's like
Alonso's
like, this time I can't touch the brakes. Can't touch the brakes. Can't
Right.
touch the brakes. No 20-second penalties here.
Just gonna drift it, right?
Yeah. Just flat out through every corner,
Man, I'll tell you what, the whole time I was so hyper focused on that because that was like the only battle that was going on up to the checkered flag.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen again. And you kind of wonder in a situation like that, right? If you're Alonso, you're looking in your rearview mirror and you're like, oh crap.
Here we
go
again.
Here we go again. And if you're Russell, you're looking at the back of Alonso's car and you're like, okay, is he going to do this again?
Yeah.
Is he going to slow down again? Am I going to overreact again and put it in the wall? Right.
Yeah.
So you got to wonder if his mindset was like, I'm gonna go on the attack and I'm gonna get this position, or if he was like, I'm good right here,
Yeah.
So,
I would hope that it's the latter where he's like, I'm going on the attack. I want the position.
You would think so. Yeah,
I would think so. They're all drivers that I feel like have that, want to be there. Maybe not Stroll, but everybody else, Did you hear him on the radio?
Oh, it was.
Oh my gosh, man. He's like, the car's not even fast. It's on a second level.
Yeah, it was mad, crazy.
Son.
It was
that was
crazy.
A misquote, by the way. Sorry. I know he said something different, but yeah. A misquote, but you got the idea.
So, okay. So, let's the race ends. You've got Red Bull 1-2.
Yep.
You've got Ferrari 3. Sainz is on the podium again, right? Yep. You've got Yuki Tsunoda scoring points in his home Grand Prix. It was a really good race. I enjoyed it. I'm always pulling for some people to kind of do better. I was really hoping that Norris was going to kind of make his way up. I'm always hoping
the McLarens have kind of been a little slow this year, man.
No,
starting to look at like we're a couple races in and they're not competing like we thought they'd come out swinging a little bit more.
I think they're going to surprise you. You watch. I think they're going to surprise you. I'm always hoping that Norris is going to get a podium. I'm really hoping that Norris is going to get a first place. I think he's got the skill level to do it. He just needs to have the machine or the opportunity, really, because you could have the machine this year, and unless Red Bull makes a error of some sort, it's probably not possible. But with that being said, let's talk rumors, right?
Okay. Well,
there were so many. Okay, well, talk news first, and then we'll talk rumors.
News first. So you saw today's news. It's pretty fresh off the papers. Alonso signed with Aston Martin till 2026. Yeah. So he locked that in. So we got that. But the question is, what's up with Stroll? Is his daddy going to keep him on
question.
There?
Right. So this goes right into the whole rumors thing, right?
All right, let's go. I'm in.
So here's the deal.
As my wife would say,
Lawrence Stroll is spill the tea. Lawrence Stroll is loaded. And I will tell you, there's some people, whether you love the guy or hate the guy, he is doing a lot of good things for the brand Aston Martin. Look at the technology advances they've done recently. They're not borrowing old tech in their cars from Mercedes anymore. They're coming up with their own, infotainment systems and all kinds of stuff. They're going after high horsepower, big performance cars, trying to chase sports cars like Porsches and stuff like that. I mean, he's doing a lot of good for the brand, right? But he's not doing a lot of good with his son sitting in that other seat.
Well, I think he sees this, but he and I watched the obviously Drive to Survive like everybody else, but
Yeah,
you kind of saw that side of him where he's like, my son is, that's why we're in this, right? So I mean, he's like, if my son's not interested in it, then maybe I'm not interested in it, and that's a big maybe. That's a multi-billion-dollar maybe. So in Aston Martin's respect, yeah, maybe Stroll's not the best thing for him, but maybe that was their intent of signing Fernando Alonso, is to maybe, hey, you're going to teach my son to be that world-class driver. And
well, that was always the case. When Vettel was there, he wanted a championship winning racer who could sit next to his son and basically show him the ropes, right? And then he did the same thing with Alonso. And I'll tell you this, there's a lot of rumors surrounding Aston in general. So one of the big rumors is that Max wants out of Red Bull. And there's part of those rumors are coming from all the drama that surrounded, the team in the beginning of the year. And then the other side of that, though, is the rumors about, so we all know that Honda is going to Aston, right? And Ford is partnering with Red Bull. So there's a bunch of people, a bunch of conspiracy people that think that Max will follow the engine manufacturer and go to Aston.
In his defense, I don't blame him.
Right.
I mean, dude, the Honda power unit obviously is showing
Killing
its weight.
Killing it.
You've got Aston Martin who's putting all this development money and effort into it. I mean, they built the new headquarters at Silverstone. They're doing all these big things that truly do show that they want to be a force to reckon with. And I mean, they were willing to basically buy Mercedes last year car a couple years ago and go race with that. So,
but you know what? If you think about, and I mean, I know he says it, and I know it's kind of cliche. He talks about how their process or their path to F1 is a journey, right? It's a 5-year journey. If you think about it, they took the championship winning car from the year before and said, we'll start with that, right? And that'll be our base, and then we'll build around that. And it worked, right?
Well,
and
I mean, Racing Point was pretty damn good back then.
Yeah.
Before it was what it is. So, I mean, dude, they've got a good chance to be a competitive car in the top 3.
I think so too.
And I'd love to see them there. I mean, not that I drive an Aston and I want to see Aston Martin do really well, but maybe that is part of it. I don't know.
So one of the rumors is Max to Aston, right? The other person that they talk about a lot going to Aston is Yuki Tsunoda because of the Honda relationship.
I mean, you can see it that they didn't get rid of him years ago when he sucked because of that Honda agreement that they would have a Japanese driver on the grid. So
I think there's a good chance that could happen, right? And then
can you see Alonso with him though?
No.
Ooh.
I don't know though. Alonso seems to have mellowed out a little bit. You know, you look at how he was, when he was with, McLaren and the like, right? I mean, he was more, aggressive, more hothead sort of thing, and now he seemed to mellow out. He still has that fire in him. He still's got that drive to win, but he's definitely, I still laugh about it, right? When he was in Miami, he's going around the track, he looks up on the Jumbotron, he's like, hey, tell Stroll nice turn or something like that, right? It was awesome. But I mean, so that's one of them. And then the other one, and I'm looking at his helmet right there because I got it sitting across my desk, is Vettel is talking about possibly coming back to F1. Right.
Well, anytime he reactivates his Instagram, get ready. Something's coming. I don't know what it is, but something's
coming.
How
he left.
I'm watching.
That's how he left the last time, right? Yeah.
He's like fired up his Instagram and he's like, I'm retiring.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Fired up his Instagram. He's like, I'm out, guys.
Yeah.
See you later.
And he just fired it back up. So y'all watch. Something's coming from the Vettel group.
Yep.
Um,
So you've
yeah,
got Vettel floating around. You've got
dude, imagine this and this is just a wild, like, wow, this could happen. Imagine Alonso and Vettel
on the same team.
on the same team
That'd be
on
kind of
Aston
cool.
Martin. Dude, that would
That,
be sick, man.
that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be sick, man.
I'd be out rocking my V5
Dude,
jersey the whole time.
I don't even know what to buy anymore. Just it's
Yep.
Aston Martin.
No, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
But there's so many. So I talked about this with a friend of mine yesterday. Is that there's so many different um like options. But
right,
in the last couple years, we haven't really seen a whole lot of like driver shakeups, you know? But next
right,
year you've got Hamilton going to Ferrari. Right now, Science doesn't have a seat. We all know Science is going to land somewhere
for
based on
sure.
his performance and how he's doing. I mean, it'd be crazy if he didn't.
He's not. He's going somewhere. We
Right.
can 100%
We all
agree
know
he's
he's going
going somewhere.
somewhere.
Yeah,
The question is where. Somebody said to me the other day they think he's going to land at the Red Bull RB, RB team. And I was like, "Really?" And then somebody else said he might land at Alpine, right?
yeah. There's also rumors of Cadillac and Andretti coming into one of those teams, and if I mean
So I thought that got shut down, and then I was reading it this morning. It looks like
it got extended out, but
they're
they're also
yeah.
building like a world headquarters at Silverstone.
All right, man.
So get
Taking a
ready,
big
man.
risk. You're gonna throw a bunch of billion of dollars at that headquarters, and then
Something will come out of it. They've got a
it.
plan. They're gonna either that or they'll be an engine supplier for Formula One. But they've also
Yeah,
got their Indy stuff too. So I mean, you got to think
but
they
it's crazy though because
they're like Daddy
if you
Stroll, man. They got the correct change, and
right,
they're just trying to find a way to spend it.
yes. But here's the thing: is this can be a topic for another day for another
Yeah,
conversation, but what has Cadillac done recently that's got you excited about the brand?
I mean, we can talk about some cars, man. The Blackwing is a pretty badass
No,
car.
the black don't get me wrong, the CTS Blackwing
Yeah,
is a really cool car,
yeah,
but it's a sleeper car,
yeah.
It's a bad car, and I
I
would love
mean,
to own one.
with Corvette having the C8 variant, I'm expecting some kind of Cadillac to follow. It's like a more classy version of the C8.
Well, I mean,
It's gonna be a cool
Cadillac's
car.
been promising their supercar ever since that XLR that
Yeah.
looked like
Oh,
a door wedge.
the
You
door
know?
wedge.
It did. It looked like a convertible door wedge. That thing was god
I used to
awful.
want one of those, man.
When it first came out, I was like, "Man, this is so retro." Now I
Yeah,
look back at it and I was like, it was the supercar version of the Cybertruck, man. It
the
was just
Wish
all
version of it,
angles.
yeah.
Oh, angles everywhere. Terrible.
I love it, man. It
Terrible.
looked like a door wedge. I won't ever see it again the same way.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah,
we've been waiting for something exciting from them for a
absolutely.
while. And if you look at all the other teams that are in F1, they have that pedigree, right?
I
Even
feel like
Audi going in there, they've got the R8. I know they just built the last one, but the R9 is going to be the successor. And if you look at that, you're like, okay, you've got this like supercar pedigree, this like,
yeah,
that V10, pedigree. And then what's Cadillac got going?
yeah.
They just don't seem
I'm
it
with you.
seems like a very square peg in a round hole sort of thing.
Well, if you look at Indy, though, I think they're, like, big sponsors of Indy
Oh, but
currently.
they're a perfect
They're
fit for
all
Indy.
over, LMP2 stuff.
Yep.
Cadillac has some cool stuff in LMP2.
Yeah.
And some of the other race, don't quote me on this. They've got it in some of the other racing categories.
No,
So
like the Le
they're
Mans cars, they've got them in the
yeah,
petite and in the full. I mean, their Le
yeah.
Mans
So
Cadillac is probably I saw a startup video the other day where they started up the Ferrari, the Porsche, and the Cadillac. And the Cadillac
yeah.
is easily not even close the best sounding vehicle that ever
So
pulled away from the pits.
so when we say what do they have going as far as their marketing and their driving cars from the street,
I'm
probably not a
talking
lot.
I'm talking about the
But
fan base that's going to line up to watch these guys do F1 because they don't have the fan base that like at least I don't feel like they do. Yeah, okay. But
I
you're
mean,
a
come
car
on,
guy.
man. I'm a
That's why you're
Corvette
doing
guy.
this
I'm a car
podcast,
guy.
man.
Like, oh man, I want to see it, dude. I want to see it. Like, let's go, man. You know, like it's like they did the 24 hours of Le Mans and they had the what car was that? The Challenger or whatever, or Camaro out there, and it
Camaro.
was like this big boat out
Yep.
there just playing with everybody else. Like, let's
But
go,
they were having a
man.
great time, dude. That dude was having that guy was having the
That
time of
was
his life.
who was driving it? Jensen Button was driving it, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
So yeah, good job, dude.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
I don't
Anyways,
know, man. But yeah,
back to the race
so
because we've been all over the place.
we have been all over the place. But yeah, so I think it was a good race. It was probably, one of my it was worth staying up for, I'll put it that way. And I
Yeah.
think what made it good for me was all the passing and everything. I'm quietly, rooting for Sainz the whole year.
Right.
I want him to do really, really well. But there's so many
Absolutely.
things, there's so many unknowns. And I think the last 2 years, especially last year, we didn't during silly season, we didn't really see anything silly. Nothing crazy
No.
happened. This
Yeah.
year, you've got people like, Ollie Behrman and, some of these other F2 guys that are below him, that
Yeah.
are, or the below, in the group below that are ready to be an F1. And I think that there's going to be some sort of shakeup. I'm just waiting to see it.
It's kind of that same thing though. Anytime you're on your way up, man, somebody's waiting for that downfall. You know what
That's
I
right.
mean? And
Yep.
that's what F1 is, man. Like
Yeah.
anytime you're on the way up, they're like, okay, yeah, we'll see. I'll be
Yeah.
in that seat next year. And then there's a bunch of different other things involved in it too. Like I mean, think about the money side of it and all the other stuff with F1, dude. F1 can get political. It can
Oh yeah.
make or break
Yep.
careers just off of who you know in F1.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's wild, man, the craziness that can happen there.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
I mean, all in all, it was a really good race. I enjoyed it.
I agree.
The next race is going to be China. Like I said, it's been a minute since we've been in China. 2019, 2 a.m.
2
I might
a.m.
not be up
race,
for that
bro.
one. So everybody who's listening, I might have to watch that on replay.
My wife is crazy, man. She is like, I am going to be up. I'm going to set an alarm. I am like, don't wake me up. Don't tell me about
2
it.
a.m. Sunday morning, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I've got something going on that day. I don't remember what it is. It's called
I'm
sleep.
not gonna wreck my Sunday just to get up that early for it. So
I'll watch it when I wake up.
If I know my wife, she's gonna wake me up anyways, and I'm just gonna be like, all right, let's watch it. And then I'll get through the turn one and nighty night.
Pass out.
I'll wake up at the end of it.
Yeah.
Good job, Max, and go back to bed.
Man. But yeah, so we've got that, and then the next race after that is Miami. And I'm excited for Miami. There's some potential, for everybody who's listening, there's some potential I will be in the Miami race.
I want to go so bad.
And I mean, you can come with me.
Nope.
Yeah.
Can't afford it, buddy.
Oh, we can.
You told me the price. I can't afford it.
We can work this out. But there's potential I'll be at the Miami race. I'll let everybody know before, after the China race, if that's something I'm doing, so I can run into some of you folks down there. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the next race. Okay, so we're gonna start doing this ahead of all the new races, right? John and I are gonna give our lock-in predictions for the race.
For the race coming up each time?
For the race coming up, we're going to give our lock-in predictions, right?
Cool.
So my lock-in prediction, and you don't get to say anything about Max. We take that off the table, right?
Okay, so Max wins number one every time. We're just going to do that.
You're just going to say Max is going to be on the podium, right? So we're just going to take that off the table.
Okay.
So my race prediction for the China race, right, is that we will see both the Haas cars in the points.
Okay.
We will see a McLaren on the podium and a Ferrari on the podium.
Okay, so we're not going specific in people here. We're just talking teams and where we think they'll land. Okay.
You could go if you want to. You can go specific in people. Be my guest.
I think the China race is going to be interesting in a lot of ways. Maybe we'll see. Okay, so maybe we'll see both of the RB cars in the points. I think I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Danny Rick finish in front of Albon for once. That would be really cool. I I don't think we're gonna see a McLaren on the podium. I don't. I think we're gonna see our usual, man. It's gonna be both Red Bulls up there.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have a mix up and get Sergio in number one. I think that'd be cool. And then I think we'll see maybe a Ferrari. Maybe a Ferrari 3-4, something like that. So that's my
your predictions are both Red Bulls on the podium,
yeah,
a
Red Bull
Ferrari on the
1-2,
podium, and
Ferrari 3-4.
Danny in the points.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
All right.
Yep.
So on the next race, when we do the recap, we will go over how our predictions
How
failed.
horrible our predictions are and how bad we wrecked our freaking drivers over here.
We'll go over how our predictions fared during the race. So
yeah.
Once again, we're going to continue to do this. The last one we did was well received. A lot of people liked it. So
Absolutely.
We're going to continue to do F1 stuff. Thank you everybody for listening and joining in and subscribing. And we're just going to keep doing this as long as we can. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Welcome to the channel. Let's keep this going. Appreciate it.
See ya.
See ya.